Intel releases the first 6 gigahertz CPU. Good for them. This is funny. Mercedes is going to be offering level 3 self-driving in America. No, I'm kidding. Poor Anthony put together this topic for us, but damn it, we're going to read it. After CEO Pat Gelsinger teased it during the Innovation 2022 keynote, Intel on Thursday formally released the i9-13900KS. It is binned apparently through a unique selection process, so binning. It has the same core and cache layout, but with higher base and boost clocks. It is apparently a world's first 6 gigahertz CPU. This is versus 5.8 for the non-S version of it. Its E-cores boost the same, though. So it's only the P-cores that will boost higher, which is fine because from a gaming standpoint, that's all you really need. Hardware Unboxed got their hands on the new chip and released a review at launch. Unsurprisingly, they're fast. Yep, they're fast. They're at the top of the graph. There's a slight problem, though. Aside from the whopping 280 watts of power that it drew at its 5.5 gigahertz all-core frequency. Wow. Okay. It's really expensive. It's $100 more than the CPU it's based on. That's 17% more for about 3% better performance. And this does not factor in AMD, whose $400 7700X isn't that far off in gaming. To get the best gains out of the 1300KS, it goes without saying that you will need to also spend a bunch of money. Like you'll need fast DDR5 7200 memory that gained an additional 3% FPS, though that might apply to the 13900K as well. So the question becomes, if I really need 3% more performance, are there other ways to do it? Maybe. And then do I need another 3%? Let's fucking go! Let's get the KS! Yeah, I mean, Luke's got a good point. You know, he thought it would actually be more than $100 more. Very few of these things will probably exist. And going back to, you know, like third-party binning services like Silicon Lottery, back when they existed, these highly binned chips would often cost a lot more. So from that point of view, you're probably right. It's downright reasonable because you have to understand what you're buying. You are buying essentially hand-picked silicon. Maybe not by an actual hand, but certainly a robot hand. Certain things that you'd really prefer a human hand to do. But I think robot hand is good enough for this. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying, Silent Luke? Again, I should have waited for him to drink. I want to get that computer wet. And computers love me. I turn them on. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't be making him laugh. For those of you who are wondering what the fuck is going on with the WAN show, we are doing a little Jay and Silent Bob cosplay because Luke had some fairly significant oral surgery earlier this week. He cannot really speak comfortably, but we've got a bit of a streak going. We got to figure out exactly which was the first show that we did. Or not the first show we did, but we've got to figure out how far back we have to go before it was not me and Luke on the WAN show. I'm pretty sure we're over 2 years at this point where neither of us has missed a WAN show, regardless of work trips, family vacations, statutory holidays, surgery. And in the interest of keeping the streak alive, Luke actually scheduled his procedure as far away as possible from WAN show, and had intended to be on the show today talking, but has had some complications today that prevented him from fully participating. So I don't remember whose idea it was, but we came up with the idea of, okay, well, if you're going to, was this be, okay, sometimes I have some stupid fucking ideas. So we came up with the idea of cosplaying as Jay and Silent Bob, so there would be a reason for him to be silent. And then this topic with YouTube demonetizing channels for swearing excessively kind of was perfect because I needed an excuse to talk about fucking pussy and right, like if I'm gonna be the character, what I'm gonna like bleep things. Can't do that shit. Anyway, Intel has dreamed of speeds of 6 gigahertz for 20 years, with their last serious attempt being the Pentium 4 NetBurst architecture-derived Tejas. Tejas. I forget how to pronounce Tejas. But the Pentium 5. These chips were intended to push past 5 gigahertz to an ultimate goal of 10 gigahertz plus, but they just couldn't do it, and Tejas was canned by 2004 in favor of the lower clocked Pentium M-based Core CPUs. Gigahertz doesn't matter came true. As we reach the limits of simply adding more cores, and with both teams pushing clocks again instead, might gigahertz matter once more? The answer is they always will. They always have, and they always will. All else being equal, more gigahertz is more faster. But the thing is that a lot of efficiencies were gained by building a more power efficient architecture, especially as we moved into the multi-core era, such that gigahertz was not the only answer to the problem. So I think there's always going to be a little bit of ebb and flow. Are we chasing gigahertz or are we chasing architectural efficiencies? Realistically, for a long time, it's just kind of been a little bit of both. Discussion question is, what direction do you see the industry going in following this milestone? More clock speed, more cache, more cores, more power, or something else? I don't think we can really push power much higher, at least not for monolithic dies. We saw with AMD's release of the non-X7000 series CPUs that at even pretty high power draw, a chiplet design, spreading out that power dissipation helps a lot with thermal management. Like, yeah, it's still a ton of heat. You still need a big fat heat sink, but you're not going to have these hot spots that are absolutely going to kill any attempt to cool these things. Like, that's the thing, right? Is you could have a 100 watt chip, right? That is impossible to cool because the die is so small that the physics of moving the heat away from it fast enough are impossible, right? Or you could have a 400 watt chip in a server that's this fucking big, has chiplets all over the damn thing, and yeah, you need a big heatsink on that bitch, but like... but it's not a problem to get the heat out of the chip into that heatsink. So I don't see us pushing power much higher for desktop chips where realistically wafers are going up in price, not down, and we're not going to see significantly larger dies. So we've just reached a point where we can't really move heat. I mean, Intel's already thinning out, not just the IHS. They've been thinning the die for multiple generations now to try to get heat out of it more efficiently. Like we are at the razor's edge of what's possible now. I do see them continuing to try to push clock speed as much as they can, but it's hard to do without more power. So, man, what are you going to see? More cache is going to be tough. Man, I'm sounding like a bad news bearer here. More cache is going to be tough. We've seen news coming out of TSMC that the latest node shrinks are not really making cache any smaller, which is pretty tough for AMD's strategy of throwing more cache at their chips to dramatically boost gaming performance. I think the X3Ds of this generation are going to be pretty freaking expensive. AMD is going to be able to point at their non-X's and say, hey, we're still a great value, right? AM5 is a great platform, great value, but you want to go fucking fast, you're going to have to pay some fucking money, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I think Luke's right. Chiplets are 100% the future. But, I mean, what? Do you really want more cores? I mean, yeah, your team works in development. You're going to parallelize everything? Good fucking luck. Ultimately, single core performance is always going to matter. Yeah, it's always going to matter. And it's still a bottleneck today. Like no matter what you're doing, it still matters.